At this time, as we do in all of our meetings, we ask that if there be anyone interested in approaching the board in regards to an issue that they would like to bring forth and schedule time in the future date, or if there's an item on the agenda that they would like to make a comment to at some portion in the meeting. I recognize Mr. Tetzlaff.
Good morning, Commissioner Larson. I would request an agenda item to add me to the agenda on item 9E in regards to the South Dakota Bankers Association Taxation Equality resolution that's in front of you this morning. I would like to make just a couple comments prior to that discussion, if that's appropriate by the commission.
Yes, we'll make an opportunity for you to make comments or clarification prior to that action.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has anything that they would? All right. As we begin the day's activities and meeting, before we get started with the formal part of the meeting, today is our Youth and Government Day. And would you young people from Brookings High School, all of you, I think, please stand up. And maybe for the benefit of the people here, just loud and clearly state your name and what your plans are, just like you did at breakfast. Well, thank you, and once again, welcome to the Brookings County and to our commission meeting, and we hope that you learn. And as you can see today, we actually have citizens present, so we must have a hot topic on the agenda. But typically we sit here and there's virtually no one in the audience, so we want to welcome everyone here this morning. We do have, fellow commissioners, time now to move on with the approval of our agenda, and the chair would entertain a motion as such.
I'd make a motion that we rearrange the agenda to move 9E up to take action after the presentation of Chad Muller from Dakota Land. That way we don't have to have discussion, get through, and if you want to go, you can go. That way you don't have to wait through the rest of the business. So
the motion is to move 9E to
after 8B.
My agenda has 8B as the request. Under regular business, are you suggesting we reverse 9A and 9E?
That sounds good.
Okay. Everyone understand what he's? Second by Commissioner Wyseth. Discussion, board members? Hearing none, Chair would call the roll, approving the agenda as amended.
Wyseth?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Falcon?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Without objection, the board will approve the consent agenda as documented in our packets and on our agendas. As we move into our routine business, we have the approval of the claims.
So moved.
Moved by Falcon.
Second.
Second by Krogman. Discussion?
Stephanie, on how are we doing on our township funds here? Are we closing this out, or?
Yep, we have one left to submit payment, and Dick just verified the work was complete at the end of last week, so then they'll all be complete.
He called yesterday. He's complete. He wants me to come out today and check it, so I'll let you know.
Dick, real quick, a recap, is that, how did that go for you? I mean, did it work out okay with everything? Did you see them? How about the feedback from the township people?
Went great. They were very timely about getting it in, and the inspections were all accurate, so went all right.
Good.
Just clarify for the board members that we have a couple adjustments on our claims. Number one is on to the Cottington County Auditor regarding a change in the registration for the 8-county meeting, and the other one, if you're looking at the bond expense and interest to First Bank and Trust, that is for the courthouse remodel project. Those two claims were on your desk this morning. Any further questions, discussion on the claims? Mr. Falcon.
There was a claim in here I saw, and I think it's a reimbursement. There was like a $45,000. I'm trying to find it again here, how that was at the courthouse or?
Do you know which department that is?
Oh, I'm trying to find it here again.
Would it be,
It appeared to be something that was a pass-through that we would be reimbursed for, but I can't remember exactly. I didn't feel it was inappropriate, I just didn't know if it was a pass-through. Oh, excuse me. It was the First District pre-disaster mitigation plan that was completed. That was a grant thing, wasn't it, Bob? If I remember, when First District completed that for us.
Well, it was a grant, but I would almost have to recommend that you not pay that one, because we shouldn't pay that one until all the public meetings and that thing's officially adopted by all the communities. That bill was just my understanding, I guess I should have talked to Ms. Elwine earlier, but as far as I know, that bill is not ready to be.
it says pre-disaster mitigation plan, but if you look at the claim, I think it says for the first half of we can pull it if you want and just bring it the next
Well,
day.
I guess, I know there was a grant, but we haven't received any money, and we haven't even approved the pre-disaster.
I don't think that's the full payment, though. Isn't that the portion that goes towards our dues, Bob?
Well, what it is, it's a 75-25 match. The 25 match is going to be the portion of our big payment to First District. This amount here, before I can claim from the state of South Dakota, we have to have all the approval documents. So I mean, the county is welcome to pay the bill, but I can't request reimbursement from the state of South Dakota until I have all 9 municipalities accepting this document.
So would you recommend today that we remove that item, just so not that we're not going to pay it, just so we can have discussion on it and you can follow up on it? But that was a bill we received from First District. and
Correct.
That we contract with them to do the disaster mitigation.
Hinging on the final approval of the plan
Right.
is what the bill is for.
Yeah, and Sarah's got the letter attached to it, Bob.
Okay.
I guess I would motion that we remove that item, that claim from the agenda, or from the claims this period, and have it on the next one and after discussion.
Second.
Okay, is there a move by Falcon, second by Krogman to withdraw this claim? Is there further discussion from the board? The question I'd pose to either staff or Mr. Hill is the fact that sometimes for the reimbursement, we have to prove that we have made the payment. And I'm wondering, in our sequence with dealing with the grants, it isn't always quote-unquote routine business.
No, I'm fully aware that we have to pay the bill, but typically in emergency management activities, we either have the product in hand completed, and then the county would pay, and then we go through the state and get the reimbursement from them to go back into the general fund.
So from staff point, your recommendation is we withhold this till the next billing cycle so we can get,
From my discussion with Todd Kays, the executive director of the First District, yes, that'd be my
oh,
recommendation.
okay. Further questions? Hearing none, let's vote on the motion to amend the claims, or approve the claims as amended, I mean.
Did you want that just as a friendly amendment? Are you going to make a motion?
I can make a
specific
friendly amendment to that, and we could
Yeah.
just approve the claims without that one being on there.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you've got 3 motions on it. That's fine. Okay,
Okay.
got it. Are you ready? Krogman,
Aye.
Falcon,
Aye.
Wyseth,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, department heads? Oh, we moved our agenda, did we? No, we didn't. Department head reports. Dick, you got anything quickly for us today?
Unfortunately, probably not as quick as you'd like, but that's okay. Good morning. First off, Chris Pressman, the lead foreman with the Highway Department, is a proud father of a little baby girl, Kinley Neva Pressman. And so I will be attending the safety conference for Chris and Mitchell this Wednesday and Thursday with Dennis Miller, and he is our Highway Department Safety Coordinator. Also, Cliff and Chris in the last couple weeks attended a snow and ice workshop with the DOT in Sioux Falls. Very informative. I had gone previously, and it's pretty interesting to see how they determine temperatures and road conditions and chemicals that were available to be used. So I think they found that very informative. They also traveled to Omaha to inspect a pup trailer that we're going to bid on next week, and that proved very beneficial so that we were getting what we wanted. Then this week, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I received the official statement from Iron Planet to give the details of our sale, and the net proceeds was $111,849.60, which in this market I think was a very fair price, and also with the hours on the machine and everything, it worked out real well. So I think that was good. The actual bid price was $122,000. So then
Dick, how close was that to what's your estimate for revenue?
it was supposed to be 105,000, so it was just a little over that. But in a perfect world, I guess I was kind of hoping that it would go in the 115 range.
But it met your budget projection?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Then I met with Doug Wessels and Colin from Banner and Associates. They finished the study on our county structures under 20 feet, or they're called short span bridges. There were 32 structures. One we can raise the rating on because it was previously rated as less than legal loads. We have two that will be posted at reduced capacity, but pretty much insignificant for local traffic. And 28 required no posting, and they're safe for legal loads. And the one snag in the whole deal was we have one structure that is going to need a significant load restriction. And I guess my recommendation after we post it, it'll be posted at 4 tons, and that's gross, which is very restrictive. I would like to suggest that we hire Banner to start drawing up the plans for replacement of that box and get that scheduled to be done right after we do the one on Highway 9. I'll touch on that in a minute, but with that type of a restriction, the people aren't totally isolated because they can go around the other way. This is up on Highway 44 west of Hendricks. And it'll just be they'd have to use the north road or go around that section to get around the limitations. But it's certainly nothing we want to leave go. We want to address it. And so it would be another situation where it'd be just like the one on 9, roughly a 7 by 16 double precast culvert. And so that's what, I guess, for your information, what I think we should go ahead and do. If it's something you want me to follow up on, and
advance with, just let me know, and if not, I don't think we need an official motion or anything. It's just something that we want to get done.
Dick,
maybe-
let me interject at this point. Given the department head's report, what's the general consensus of the board? Would you like him to start gathering the information?
What kind of number are we talking about again?
It would be like the other one on 9, it'd be roughly in the neighborhood of 173,000, I suppose, depending upon when they do the actual survey of the site to see if there's any additional snags they might come across. I'm predicting there won't be. It's just the one that's there is in such need of repair that, you know, we want to do something.
And then completed next year out of next year's budget? That'd be.
Well, we didn't have it, that's why I'm bringing it up now. The one we got now should be covered in this year's budget, because that's being constructed, but the one next year, we didn't.
Right, and so you wouldn't get it done this year, we're talking again
Correct.
next year's budget.
Yes.
So we could take that out of contingency if we have any?
If it's next year, you're gonna end up doing a supplemental budget hearing at some point anyways to deal with those other road projects that you have coming up, so you could address at that time.
I think until we know what the costs are, I mean, you just want to get the engineering done and have that ready, whether we can't afford it next year, we'll have to budget it in the following year, but I think we need to get this preliminary work done
Right.
anyway.
I think you're gonna definitely get some calls from probably some concerned people when they're posted, so that's the main reason I'm bringing this up, because you wanna know that it will be a significant reduction. You know, that's barely a little over a pickup truck, so.
What township?
Yep. Never fails.
Consensus is to proceed with the preliminary.
Yeah. Okay, Dick, you have the consensus of the majority of the board to proceed, and
Okay.
8-ton load, or 4-ton load limit, you just will put a closed sign on it, you know, 'cause
It's,
about the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah, proceed with that project.
okay. Then the status on the new building is, final plan should be drawn up for approval by the first week in December. Everything's going real good, and hoping to go to bids on that in January or early February at the latest, with construction as soon as the weather breaks in the spring. Also at the shop, we're doing insulation, painting, and energy-efficient lighting, and this kind of finalizes the, we got that grant for the earlier to do the shop lights and whatever through the power company to reduce our usage, and that office part had never been insulated or anything, so this should make a significant difference. We're really looking forward to seeing some improvement there on utility bills and stuff. And that about does it, unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Hope you don't have to move snow this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Sheriff,
I'll be brief.
you always are.
Morning. Inmate population is 22 this morning. Increased about 4 or 5 daily since summer times. Haven't seen a big increase, so still watching what happens in the court system. PBTs, I have 27 coming in twice a day for PBD. Scram, have 28 on the alcohol scram bracelets that come and download once a week. The 24/7 programs brought in for up to this date 39,696. In other words, I'm telling you again just to let you know that it's a self-sufficient program that is paying for itself for staff and so forth. Other than that, increased deer accidents now with corn coming out and so forth. So if there's any deer hunters that don't get their deer, I got some surrenders daily. So anyway, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Marty? I think Vicki, as you're coming up, for the benefit, seldom do we get this many people at a meeting, but for the benefit of everyone here, is the commission and the department heads in Brookings County work as a team, and we communicate all week long amongst each other, and there's a lot of synergy. That isn't the case in all counties or other forms of government. But Vic?
Well, a week ago, we had the school election that the county helped with, and I think the e-poll books went very good. All of the workers seemed to be happy with it. The taxpayers were happy with, they could go to any location. We had people from the Secretary of State's office here, and other than the scanner didn't work real great in the counting, but that was just a problem that we had no control over. I think the election went very well. And to kind of follow up with what Don said, we hear all the time that they can't believe that the city and the school and the county work together as well as they do, like for the elections and things like that. We have people from the city, from the county, and from the school working at all the elections in the counting process. So it works really well with that. And then on Wednesday through Friday, we had Stacy and Kristen from our office go to Sioux Falls for a training for the election training workshop. And that was, I think, very informational to them. Went to Watertown for an 8-county meeting yesterday and to the Optimist breakfast this morning. Any questions?
Once again, you and your staff, Stacy, did a great job training. That's what the poll workers stressed, was they loved their training. So they weren't scared of the new technology or anything.
Yeah, we had
Good
just all real good comments, and Stacy did the training, and she did an excellent job as always. So thank you.
Thanks again, Vicki. And yeah, same thing. I had citizens comment about the excellent training, and once again, for the benefit of our audience, using vote centers versus the quote-unquote old precincts, and that may be something in the future that if one of us is traveling through the county on election day and we choose to vote and we happen to be in Elkton, we could stop in at the vote center in Elkton and vote. We don't have to be in our home precinct. So technology is moving us forward. Mr. Hill from Community Development and Emergency Management.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Bob.
Over the weekend, the reason we do our siren test in Brookings, the first Tuesday of every month occurred. The tornadoes can happen any month of the year. So we always have to stay diligent with our alarm system, siren systems, and continue testing them, and hope that we never get hit by a winter tornado, but they're possible. We've got a local emergency planning committee meeting on November 21st, 2013. The parade float, we have moved our farm trailer down to the highway department for the county commission to be aware of, and in preparation for the Festival of Lights parade. The comprehensive plan is going well. We've had 2 meetings so far. We had meetings in White and Volga, and we had a representative from District 4, Tyler, came down from up north, and we've had 3 county commissioners, 2 mayors, and approximately 25 people in attendance. We've got another meeting tonight in Elkton, and the final one will be Thursday night here in this building. And you're still welcome to take the comprehensive plan survey online at any time. We've had incident command system training for the last 2 Wednesdays, and we've got 2 more scheduled. We've had good attendance there. We've had some county commissioners and department heads show up for that training, and I think it's going good. And last but not least, we had a truck accident on Friday afternoon, approximately 4:55 p.m. I was called out up by Arlington, and just so happened I become the incident commander at that time because of the diesel fuel that was leaking out, and that situation should be rectified today. Kingsbury County had a deputy sheriff on board. Our deputy sheriff didn't show up for a couple hours because the true accident scene itself was being handled by the highway patrol. So everything went well. Any questions?
Questions for Bob?
Thank you.
Anyway, did he forward to the other commissioners his incident command report? If you get a chance, Bob, would you forward that to the rest of the commissioners? It's very thorough and detailed and right down to the minute, everything that was happening out there, and that the area was secured. And would it be on our website, Steph?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Bob, would it be?
Yeah, it was sent to the commission, to the commissioner my liaison commissioner.
Okay.
So I can send it to all
For the
of them.
benefit of our audience, again, if you get to see how professional it's handled when we have an accident of that type out in the country, it's worthwhile. And in regards to the comprehensive land survey, we want everybody to participate. And if you're like Commissioners Larson and Falcon, you took it twice because you done it online and hit submit, and then they said, did you get a thank you note? No, that's because you did it wrong. So then we had to do it over. Shades of grade school, huh? Okay, as we move forward to no other department heads here at this time, Abby will get you with the commissioners' reports. It's moving on to routine business, item number C, action to approve resolution 13-68.
So
Moved by Wyseth, second by Falcon. Is there any discussion?
Any comments, Bob?
No, this plat was heard at our the county planning commission meeting on November 5th and sent to this board with the recommendation of approval.
Once again, we always have a very thorough report in our packet. I think our packet this week was 236 pages. So. Okay, any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Falcon.
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Number D is another action to approve Resolution 13-69, which is another plat of the Carson Edition as published and presented in your agendas. The chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Wyseth, second by Krogman. Discussion?
Once again, it was approved by the planning commission and forwarded to this board with the recommendation of approval.
Okay. Please call the roll. Oh, did you have a question?
Nope. that was
Okay,
good.
please call the roll.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Falcon.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, under our scheduled items, on item 8, if you're following along in our agenda, and it is 9:30, so our timing is perfect. We do have a request by Mr. Chad Moeller, representing Dakota Land Federal Credit Union, to address the board in a brief presentation regarding the proposed federal regulation changes. Mr. Moeller? You and whomever you may want to have for assistance, just feel free to be seated, and just please identify yourselves when you speak. And if there's need 3 of you, feel free to slide an extra chair.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Olson. I'm the Vice President of Advocacy for the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas. We represent nearly 500,000 credit union members in North and South Dakota, 251,000 in South Dakota, and 45 federally chartered credit unions in South Dakota, and 10,000 credit union members here in Brookings County.
Good morning. My name is Dan Cumby. I'm the President and CEO of Dakota Land Federal Credit Union. We have an office in Brookings, and we also have offices in 5 other counties. We have a total of 8 offices. I have a few things I'd like to go over. First, Dakota Land has approximately 4,515 members in or near Brookings County. We currently have 2,471 loans on the books with our 2 branches in Brookings County. We have one in Brookings and then one also in Volga. We compete with 9 banks that have 15 offices. We only have 2.8% of the market share, so we're a tiny player. There's one bank in town that has 67% market share. And not that they're a bad bank, they do a good job, but we're just a small player. Deposits in Brookings County as of 6/30 of 2013, let's see. Okay, excuse me. We've been in Volga since 1996. I should have moved this forward, hang on. Sorry about that. And we've had a low-income charter, and we serve predominantly low and middle-income people throughout South Dakota. The bankers are asking us to be taxed again. This is nothing new. When I started almost 30 years ago, one of the first things I was told is the bankers will attack us, and they've been doing it over and over for the last 30 years in my career, trying to get us taxed like they are. Well, we're a nonprofit financial cooperative. We're structurally different than banks. And it's ironic that the bankers are leading the charge once again, trying to attack their competitors. It just doesn't seem right, especially since banks have been very profitable. This last year in 2012, banks from 100 million to 1 billion, which is a large majority of the banks in South Dakota, their ROA, or return on assets, was 1.57% after tax. Banks also continue to have strong growth at 8.29% deposit growth in that same year. And banks also dominate the market share. Banks currently have 98% of all the deposits in South Dakota, and credit unions as a whole only have 2%. You have to ask yourself, what is the motive of the bankers continually attacking credit unions? Is it that they want to be more profitable, or do they want to have more market share? We wonder. If credit unions were taxed, it would change the dynamics of credit unions completely. We would go from nonprofit cooperatives to for-profit entities. It would virtually eliminate the credit union industry. If we were forced to become for-profit credit unions, we would also try to maximize our profits similar to banks. Ultimately, the consumers would pay the price with higher price financial services and less money in their pockets. Local economies would suffer, and you would eliminate a total option of the financial services industry. We can show that we provide plenty of value to the communities that we serve. When comparing Dakota Land to all commercial banks in South Dakota, again from the 100 million to 1 billion in assets, the yield on average loans, we are less. We're at, Dakota Land currently is at 5.75% as of year end, and South Dakota banks in that same category was 6.82%. And there are 30 banks that are in that asset class. The average cost of deposits is 1.18% at Dakota Land, whereas the banks are at 0.8%. And then again, average fee income to average assets was 1.66%, and South Dakota banks were at 3.9%. If you take those values as a nonprofit financial cooperative, we give back. We charge less on loans, we charge or pay more in dividends, and we charge less in fees. When you carry those things forward, it equals $6.8 million of true dollars that we give back to our members by not charging high fees and by having lower loan rates or higher savings rates. That's a significant value to the members and our communities. If you take that $6.8 million in value and you run that through the local economy, not even adding an economic multiplier, but if you tax half of that at sales tax rate of 7%, the revenue would be $239,000. Comparatively, in 2012, if Dakota Land was subject to a bank franchise tax, we would pay approximately $114,000. So there's a difference of $124,000 that our members are paying through the value that we give to them rather than paying a tax. And another thing, we're, a bank franchise tax, we're neither a bank nor a franchise. We're a credit union and we're a cooperative, and we're different than banks. We are here to provide service and not to maximize our profit. Oops. Yeah. We also think that the value or the amount of money that would come back to Brookings, and I'm not 100% sure of how the bank franchise tax is distributed. It's something about where you may have an office. Well, Dakota Land, our operation is 14.9%, and if they were to take it, and distribute based on our asset size, that would mean that Brookings County would be eligible for approximately $17,090. The county portion, based on 12.3% of the total, would be $2,102. I believe we offer a lot more value back to the membership than what's received maybe through a bank franchise tax. In the last 12 months, ending 6/30 of 2013, Dakota Lands also contributed $51,163 to community groups and charities, directly to people that need it. Also, in the past 12 months, our staff has volunteered 4,650 hours in community service projects, civic and church groups. Dakota Land also does pay a lot of taxes. We currently pay, in 2013, we will pay $94,000 in real estate taxes. We'll also pay $340,000 in payroll taxes. Our members will pay approximately $249,000 in federal income tax on the dividends that they earn based on a 15% tax bracket. And we also pay the 2% state excise tax in any building projects. In addition to all the other benefits that I've previously mentioned, we're still a not-for-profit member-owned cooperative. Dakota Land gives everything back to our members. When we're done paying the bills at the end of the day, we return everything back to the membership. We put it in a member's undivided earnings account. And that's to be held to satisfy the regulatory equity requirements, and it's also to provide long-term safety and soundness. It's a regulator capital, so to speak. It's ownership of the credit union. Those funds aren't doled out to a stockholder or any group. They're given back to the entire membership, and they're held, in theory, they're distributed at a later date. A tax on credit unions would be a tax on all of our members. All of our members, including elderly that are on fixed income, single moms, dads, disabled members, kids, and even babies. Our membership is made up of everyone. We have 411 members that are 65 years or older. We have 406 members that are 17 years or younger. And a tax would, and that's just in Brookings County too, by the way, a tax would hurt our ability to pay dividends on maybe a retired person's CD, or maybe we would have to charge a fee on a checking account for a 16-year-old kid that just got his first checking account and is going out in the real world and working. We think the county commissioners should think twice about setting a precedence of endorsing one business over the other. In this resolution, they're asking that you pick one business over the other. We wonder, will you be approached next week by a different entity, maybe a public school, over a private school, or maybe an insurance industry would like to involve the counties with their problems and have changes made based on one different entity over another. We think you could be treading dangerous waters, and we respectfully urge you to deny the South Dakota Banker Association's request. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Again, thanks for having us here. It's a great opportunity for us to, we appreciate the banks bringing this to your attention because we get the opportunity to talk about credit unions. And what we've learned as we go out and talk to people about credit unions, specifically lawmakers, is they really don't understand the fundamental difference. And to understand our tax exemption, you have to understand the fundamental difference between a credit union and a bank. As Dan mentioned, we are financial cooperatives. We are member-owned, we are member-run, and we serve our members. And we are not-for-profit, not nonprofit. A lot of people get that confused. And we do pay taxes. We pay payroll taxes, we pay property taxes, and we pay sales tax in some cases. And in North Dakota, our state chartered credit unions do pay some unrelated business income tax. So we do pay taxes. And the fact that the bankers are going out and showing this carrot to school boards and things like that, that, hey, you got this money out here if you tax credit unions, is simply not true. And we wish they would stop doing that, because we are paying property taxes, and the last time I looked, my property taxes go back into the school mill levy, and they are supporting the schools. I understand there's a little bit of the franchise fees that do also support some of the education, but to get the school boards riled up on the fact that we don't pay taxes is simply not true. But we live in a time when perception is reality, and you don't even have to fact check anymore. But somebody says it, community leader says it, it must be true. Even the newspaper didn't fact check, because the numbers that were presented to you and in the newspaper are simply baffling. I don't know where they're getting these numbers, but it's a spin. We all spin today. The truth of the matter is, a tax on credit unions is a tax on credit union members. We all know that businesses don't pay taxes. There are unintended consequences. What will happen is our members will be taxed. Credit unions will liquidate and they will close, because the tax exemption is who we are and how we function today. We are the most regulated financial industry in the world, the United States credit unions. More regulated than banks, because we're member-owned. And any profit we make, and we're mandated to make a profit, goes back into that community, goes back into that bank. Now, to say that times have changed since we were chartered in 1937 is really not knowing the facts, because our economic environment is almost identical to what it was in the Great Depression. Are credit unions growing? Fact is, credit unions are shrinking. We have less than 7,000 in the country today. We're averaging 3 mergers a year in South Dakota. And why? Regulatory burdens. Instead of working with the bankers and going to Washington, D.C. and talking to our regulators about regulatory relief, we're here in Brookings County talking about, please don't tax us. Because if you would, your resolution today, if you pass it, is going to have lasting ramifications. Because this is a victory for the banks. You are a taxing authority. They're going to go to the city commission and get a resolution. They're going to go to the Pure and get a resolution from the legislators. Then they'll go visit with Senator Johnson, the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, and Senator Thune, and say, look, the taxing authorities in South Dakota want this $1.2 million that would be taxed, and we think you should repeal the tax exemption. Congress has ratified the tax exemption for credit unions 6 times. 6 times. So our economic environment is really not that much different. And our credit union is growing. Dan's credit union is growing, absolutely, because he has merged with credit unions that cannot simply keep up with the financial or the regulatory burdens anymore. It's either close the doors or we go with a credit union that can help us succeed. Same is true with Black Hills Federal in Rapid City. It's a big credit union. It's $1 billion in assets. They serve 50,000 members, but did you know that 70% of their members are low-income designated? Households of less than $25,000? We're still serving the people we set out to serve. We're not in the for-profit structure. There's nothing wrong with that. We've existed together for almost 100 years. There's a need for the financial cooperative, and there's a need for the for-profit. The big difference between the banks and the credit unions is this simple. With the credit unions, it's 2. It's you, the member, and the credit union. And with the bank, it's 3. It's the consumer, the bank, and the shareholders. There's nothing wrong with either system. They both work, and there's plenty of room. And if you look at the market share, if you count the big chartered banks in South Dakota, we have less than 0.5% of the market share in deposits and assets. So, as an outsider, looking at the newspaper article last week and coming in here today to talk to you about this, to me, this is a done deal. It's a brilliant move by the banks. You have the chairman of the association, which, by the way, this is really association politics that you're getting called up in. And I've testified in front of legislators before. This is really nothing more than political theater. You've already made up your mind. Facts don't vote. But they're here. You have a community leader, well-respected, does a nice job. You all probably have a relationship with him, and he's asked you to pass this resolution. A resolution that will have unintended consequences, Brookings County, across the state, And I'll tell you what, our folks in Washington are watching this closely. It's a good strategy on their part. I commend them. We don't have the resources to go to every county. We don't have the resources to go to every school board. But the truth is, let's tell the truth. Let's be factual. And if we have such an unfair advantage or a fair advantage, or they have such an unfair advantage in competing with credit unions, why don't they convert to a credit union charter? They can. They can. Just as a credit union can convert to a bank if we wanted to. It has happened. A lot more credit unions have converted because you know what? There are more benefits and opportunities for a credit union to become a bank. We are restricted at what we can do, how we can invest, how we can make money, where that money needs to go. We don't have the same advantages that they do. Did you know that credit unions are capped as what we can loan our business members at 12.25% of our assets? The banks got that in 1998. Said, you know what? We've been making business loans for almost 100 years, ag loans especially in the Dakotas, doing very, very well at it. Our delinquency rates are way lower than the banks. And they said, you know what? You can't do that anymore. We're going to cap you at 12.25% of your assets. When we have money to lend, we have money to put back in our community, and you know what? It doesn't cost the taxpayer a dime. The banks say we're taxpayer subsidized. Now, when you talk about Farm Credit Services, possibly, they're a government-sponsored entity, shouldn't be a comparison. We support ourselves. We don't get one dime from the taxpayers, not one. Didn't take any TARP money. We weren't practicing any of the loans or the financial practices that got us in this economic crisis in the first place, and neither were the community banks. But we are the unintended consequences or the collateral damage that happened from that. And so, as we look at this across the country, as we visit with Senator Johnson, we were just there last week, and Senator Thune, the country needs money. And if we were taxed across the board, credit unions, they're saying something like $2 billion. Well, in reality, it's less than $1 billion. It's like 800, 900 million. Hardly a dent in our 17 million or 17 trillion in debt, is it? And then they say, well, let's just tax the big credit unions. If you look at that, well, let's just tax the big churches then, or the big hospitals. We're still doing the same thing. Hospitals are taking care of people, healing people. Churches are still preaching the gospel to people. Just because they're bigger doesn't mean they're not doing the same thing or they're providing their mission. But again, I ask you, if we have such a fair advantage, or if they have such an unfair advantage to credit unions, why don't they convert? In the history of the finance institutions, only one bank has converted to a credit union. And that happened just within the last 2 years. And that was Thrivent. That's it. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions for the gentleman? I have one for you, sir. If you would bring your presentation up to Dakota Land Value, because your presentation, is it the same that was given us in our packet?
Slightly different, changed a little bit.
Would you bring up the page that says Dakota Land Value?
Sure.
Do you want the one in the packet?
Pardon?
Do you want the one from the packet?
I have the one on my packet. I got it up on my iPad right now.
I'll just give you the whole packet.
No, just, I wanted to ask you a couple questions on the numbers, because I'm often challenged by technology. Just put it up, you can just lay it there and it'll come up on the screen.
Oh,
The page says Dakota Land Value. Yeah, that one. Which, the one that I got in my packet says average yield on loans 5.48%, banks 6.91.
Yes.
And that's different than what we got here.
Yes. There was an error in that original packet. I was hurried to put that together, and I actually used end-of-year balances rather than average balances for the year. Average balance is a far more correct number. This is average balance on average loans.
Okay, so the one you give us today is the most accurate?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, then because what the average cost of deposits You had before at
changed.
1.12 for you and 0.76 for banks.
Yeah.
So
Because we
then
use the
saving,
average.
but the savings one then, the one that says savings for borrowers dropped from 2,111,000 down to 1,490,000.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to be sure that which copy was the correct copy.
Yeah, this is a correct copy. Again, it used the average, and it was a crude method, using the beginning of the balance at the beginning of the year in January 1, 2012, and the balance at the end of the year, and then averaging the two, since income or dividends are paid over a time period. That's a crude way to get the average. And we're working with FDIC statistics off their website.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that in my own mind because the numbers were different, and and then tell me the difference between a member and a shareholder.
A member at a credit union is the user of the account. When they become a member, they pay $5 at our credit union, and now they are a member owner of that cooperative. They can use all the services of the credit union. In a bank, banks have customers that they serve, and they on a daily basis, well, when they make money from those customers, then that money goes to the stockholder. The stockholders are the owners of the bank. The members of the credit union are our owners, whereas stockholders are the owners of the bank. Is that any more questions?
But a dividend paid out is the same as,
In the credit union world, the dividends are paid to the members on the deposits that they have, and at the end of the year, after all the bills are paid, the rest of the money, all the earnings go into undivided earnings, and that's the ownership of the membership as a whole.
okay. I just wanted to know your definition between the two.
And I guess for my purposes, I can't confirm or dispute any of the numbers. We heard numbers last meeting, we heard numbers this meeting, and I guess for me, it's to sit up here and say, those numbers are correct, your numbers are correct. I think that really, to me, isn't the issue. The issue is, we've been brought a concern of an unfair playing field type situation. And I think that's been addressed by you, and it's been addressed by the banks. And I think that's where it all boils down to. It isn't the numbers that, even though the numbers are, impacting, but,
Right.
for me to care whether or not your numbers are exactly right or the bank's numbers are exactly right, that's kind of a moot point to me, because what it is we're being requested, and I think my concern, and this certainly will come into discussion when we have the resolution, but my concern is the taxpayers of Brookings County losing something in not collecting the bank franchise tax. Well, possibly by both presentations, yes, there would be money coming in, but that's also a disputed number. So I guess to me, it's whether or not we feel this board, or I feel that this board should become involved in that whole process. And I think it's good to hear both sides. And I think of any argument or disagreement or issue that's two sides, and now we've heard your side, and I appreciate you coming and taking the time to do that. And I know Mr. Tetzloff is asked to also respond, so maybe we'll get some more information. So thank you.
Are you going to, before I ask a question, no use asking the question if Mr. Tetzloff's going to address, are you going to have this at this point or during the action?
No, Mr. Tetzloff will give us some information, and then we'll act on the resolution.
But after the resolution's been brought to the floor or during this open period?
This open period is for us to gather any information that wasn't provided in our packet, and then after this public discussion, we will bring the issue to the table.
So,
Then we will discuss it as a board and take our action.
yeah,
So feel free to ask your
Mr.
question.
Okay, well, Mr. Tetzloff probably would ask the same question, is that banks pay all those property taxes, payroll taxes too, and so they're in the same field. Probably the thing in South Dakota is that bank franchise tax. and how much of it is. And as I stated at the last meeting, is that I got a soft spot for credit unions because they really serve a tremendous purpose. But if they get into banking business, and there's probably many different types of credit unions, different sizes, different services. I mean, not services, but service a different clientele. And if there are, and this is really a resolution for the Congress, so it's a long ways from home here. I guess my point is that the feds are going to decide maybe not every credit union will fall under the guidelines of having that income tax. I'm on a board of a mutual insurance company. You buy a policy from us, you're a member, but we're taxed. And that was decided some years ago that to compete, because we're selling policies to everybody. Now, you have a $5 qualification, so, but I appreciate your presentation. I guess I'll wait to hear what the bankers have to say, and maybe have more questions, but that's the only thing I picked up was that everybody's paying those taxes, every business around.
May I respond to that? There's a reason, I mean, just take a look at the history why bank franchise fees or franchise fees were incorporated in the first place, or why Congress looked at enacting the CRA in 1977. Because they were, the banks, the financial industry was not supporting their local communities or their local states. That's why these things were put in place. And that's why we had the mortgage-backed security issue, is because now Congress got involved and said, you know what, you need to start making signature loans available and give everybody the opportunity to buy a house. Not everybody had the ability to repay those loans. You start messing with things that work, there are unintended consequences. I mean, we have Dodd-Frank, from Dodd-Frank with the Durbin Amendment. What did the Durbin Amendment mean? It means that you don't have free checking anymore. And that people are paying fees. There's a reason why we have the payday lenders in this state, and they're doing so well. There's a need. We have people that are unbanked. We need credit unions. We need banks. Because of some of the regulations that have come down in Dodd-Frank, the larger banks stopped doing business with people. They now became unbanked because they can't make money off them anymore. They loved those people that were writing NSF checks and were feed to death. And the customers didn't mind because their checks were covered or they'd pay the fees. They didn't care. But now the banks, because of Dodd-Frank and some of the regulations that have come down from that, dropped them. Where do they go? They're going to payday lenders. Credit unions are picking up some of those, yeah. So credit unions, our members are growing. Are they happy with the banks? It's an alternative. It's a choice. And our tax exemption makes us different, makes us fundamentally different. They're two different structures. And credit unions, we don't brag about it, are giving back to our community as well. Probably as much, or if not more, charitable contributions as well. We're just not forced to do it.
Commissioners, any other questions? Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And we're open and transparent, and the chair may take the liberty of asking you or any of our board members a question after the rebuttal, if you wish to call it that, or any comments that Mr. Tetzlaff may have for clarification. So don't run off till we're done. Kevin, you're the next one. The only one said they wanted to say something. Welcome.
Good morning again. Just for the record, this morning I'm in front of you as chairman of the South Dakota Bankers Association here in South Dakota, obviously. Before I start, just a few comments, just for clarity for the record. I know there was questions in regards to where some of our information came from. The information that was presented a couple weeks ago, the slides that I'd given you with the South Dakota Bank franchise tax, we worked with each local county auditor and treasurer's office to formulate the information that was presented to you. And hopefully Vicki can assess that that's where the information came from. So just for clarity perspective, it wasn't just pulled out of the air, it was working with local county officials. Thank you for allowing me to make a couple brief comments this morning in consideration of the proposed resolution. I put you in a tough spot, and I apologize for that. But change sometimes comes hard, and it's got to start somewhere. And we talk about why Brookings County. Well, unfortunately, you have the luck of having the chairman of the association in your local county. And so, again, this is a conversation that's happening not only in Brookings County, but across the state and across the country, because this is creating awareness. And this is exactly what we need to have happen, is to create awareness and have people talk about what the differences are, but also what the similarities are, and then make up their own minds of what's right. As you can see by the audience this morning, Chairman Larson has referenced a couple times, we do have a number of folks in the audience, a number of bankers in the audience that are concerned about this issue. And it's an issue that has been out there a long time. But we think over the last 80 to 100 years, there's been a lot of change over that time. And I want to make just a couple points. The motivation of the SDBA and like associations across the county to start such an awareness campaign was to educate enough people of this issue to motivate Congress to examine these old tax exemptions within the context of the size and scope of how the credit unions and farm credit systems operate today. A lot has changed in how these entities have operated over the last 80 to 100 years. When financial institutions provide like products and services, we believe they should be taxed equally as well. When missions for tax-exempt organizations change, we believe the tax exemption should be ripe for change as well. A point of clarity, tax exemptions weren't given based on structure. They were given based on what their missions were of serving the modest means. I'm not even sure where to begin in making comments in regards to the presentation you heard this morning. Tossing out a lot of information, a lot of rhetoric, some of which may be relevant, some may not be, some not quite telling the whole story, not misleading, or actually not lying, but not maybe telling the rest of the story, does create confusion. And I obviously give them credit for that, because obviously with confusion creates some hesitancy to change the status quo. Again, I've put you in a tough spot. However, I do not plan to ask you to be judge and jury or decipher what information is correct, misleading, or not necessarily telling the whole truth. That's not fair to you, it's not fair to the commission, and to be honest, it's not fair to the process. However, before I try to put forth a solution, which I do have for you this morning, to bring some resolve to this issue, I need to quickly clarify 3 points. In fact, I think this was my first point, was brought up by one of the commissioners this morning already. In the information of the FAQs that I'm assuming all of you had received online for your preparation for this meeting this morning, I find it interesting they lead off that credit unions pay taxes. It is true they pay property taxes, personal property taxes, which of course whoever prepared this data doesn't realize we don't have that in South Dakota, and payroll taxes for their employees. That's great. They pay taxes just like every one of us in the room who own real estate or have any employees. What they fail to mention, however, is that they paid $0 on the trillion-dollar industry which generated $9 billion across the country from their profit of operations. I think that would be significant to mention when they say they pay taxes. Again, my frontline teller pays more in taxes than this trillion-dollar industry earned from its operations. Something just doesn't seem quite right from that. Point 2, in regards to mission creep, I find it interesting again in their own FAQs that they fail to mention the entire portion of HR 1151, which is what they referenced in the documents if you had a chance to read through that. They specifically referenced this enabling ruling, HR 1151, on why credit unions are tax exempt. The portion of the clause that they forgot to mention, though, was the second half of that, is because they have been given a specific mission of meeting the credit and serving needs of consumers, especially persons of modest means. Seems kind of ironic they've missed that part in that paragraph. Again, I think that would be maybe relevant to the discussion. Point 3, finally, and then I will move on to a suggested resolution. I'm happy to go point by point for a lot of notes that I took during the discussion, but I had my presentation 2 weeks, and to be cognizant of your time and the process, I won't do that unless asked to do so. Point 3, their tax exemption status has been reaffirmed a number of times, most recently in 1998. Again, this is very true, and it's been examined a couple times prior to that. That is a factual statement. I find it ironic, however, that this was also the same year when the, quote, community charter was born, which allowed for the explosive growth we have seen within the industry, and specifically with the growth of the Black Hills Federal Credit Union to basically cover the entire western portion of the state, and Dakota Land Federal Credit Union to expand to cover the eastern half of the state when it went from 3 counties to 25 and has doubled its assets in the last 5 years. This legislation also allowed for what I referenced at the last presentation, Maryland's Nassau Federal Credit Union to solicitate a credit card from my CEO in Brookings, South Dakota. Not sure where that fits into the modest means, but I don't know that he qualifies for that. But again, to become a member, all you have to do is go online and click a button, become an associate and member of some entity, and you now become eligible for that. And there's actually 50 credit unions across the country that serve that type of geographical scope. Again, a little bit of mission creep. I brought this issue for your consideration and support because not only does it affect every taxpayer across the country, it affects all of your constituents here in Brookings County. If time were to allow, I would like to show you how it significantly affects your constituents much more than the numbers referenced in the prior presentation. But again, out of respect, I won't go there unless you would like me to. Again, I'm not asking you to play judge and jury on this issue. That's not fair to you or the process. When you ultimately because you ultimately don't control the final outcome, which again, it is a federal issue. I would hope through this awareness campaign, however, that enough questions have been raised in your mind to support a resolution to request Congress to conduct hearings to examine the current day justification of the continuation or repeal of these exemptions. Not saying you support the taxation, making a resolution supporting the review of whether these tax exemptions still are warranted. If the credit unions and Farm Credit do truly live up to their missions, which they have stated they do, I'm not sure why they should be concerned of just requesting a review, which has happened in the past. Why would it be a bad thing to have a review of whether these tax exemptions still should be warranted today? They've done it in the past. If they're holding true to their mission, it should not be an issue. I know some of you are hesitant to take a position on such resolutions, and you have notably elected not to take positions on such issues as the Northwest Quadrant and even the school board election that we just had. Who wouldn't support the schools, right? Well, partially I can see maybe why you didn't, because all of Brookings County doesn't represent Brookings School District. Everybody's not affected. But if you did support that, I mean, ultimately I'm obviously in favor, and so was the majority of the voters of passing that election. But that was a tax increase. We're building new facilities, which takes revenue. So you would have been supporting something that was passing a tax on those folks. With this revenue is also the proposed solution that I'm bringing forth today is asking again to just review whether these tax exemptions are still valid. And if they're not, that brings new revenue to everybody in Brookings County, not just a select self-serving few that are benefiting from those services. Why should those that are members get the benefit at the cost of everybody else? Failure to have Congress review these outdated exemptions will result in the continued flow of business from tax-paying banks to tax-exempt institutions, and 3 things will happen. Taxpayers like you and I get to pay more. Funding for state and local government programs in South Dakota gets shortchanged, and our local communities will suffer. As a famous person once said, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. In regards to, and that's the end of my formal comments, but I do want to make one comment that one of the individuals spoke before me had referenced of unintended consequences. Yes, there will be unintended consequences, and it's happening right now at the cost of all taxpayers. The unintended consequences is literally the movement away from the missions and charter of what they were originally established for to what they are becoming today. They're a bank, call them what you want, but they're not acting that way. The numbers that were referenced up here, obviously there's some question and changes that are happening on that part. Again, I'm not calling to ask that you make a decision of what's right and wrong, but just think from a competitive standpoint. If somebody has a 30 to 40% head start, are their numbers going to look different? Sure they are. If one store down the street has a 30 to 40% head start that doesn't pay taxes and somebody else does, I would hope they would be able to offer that a little cheaper. If they don't, they are going to be pretty inefficient. But I'm not sure that that's what the true marketplace of what this great country was built upon, was creating opportunities for some at the expense of all. And that's really what's happened over the last number of years, really since the last time this issue was examined at the federal level. And so we're just saying, let's have another opportunity to take a look at this. Not saying that you need to fully support taxation of credit unions and farm credit services, because that may be too far reaching for your commission to say, you know what, I don't understand all the facts well enough. But what I would ask for you to do is consider a resolution, which I'll have Sandy, my assistant, pass out, basically just tweaking the verbiage of the resolution that you have in front of you from saying that you're supporting the full taxation of the farm credit system, institutions, and federal credit unions to specifically local government resolution in support of a review of the taxation exemptions enjoyed by the federal farm credit system, institutions, and federal credit unions. So you're not trying to put a precedent here that you're supporting one over the other. I agree. You shouldn't pick winners and losers. That's not your decision. That's not your fight. That needs to happen in Washington. All we're saying is, you know what? It's been a lot of years since they've looked at that. Maybe as representing your constituents here in Brookings County who are negatively being affected by this, we should show some grassroots support that, yes, we want to take another look at this. Not saying you're for or against it. Just saying, you know what? Maybe the time has come. Because it's been, I forget if it was 1998, so we've had, going on 20 years here. Maybe it's time for another fresh look. Again, I've got a lot of notes that I can counter some of the discussions before. I will reassure everybody, free checking is still alive in the banking world, and that's not going away anytime soon, I know. But again, I've got a lot of other counterpoints, but I don't want to make this a back and forth because, again, at the end of the day, it is not trying to decipher who's right or wrong. Let's just have the people that have that authority make that decision. I'll stop there and open for comments.
Hold tight. Anybody have any questions for Kevin at this point? I want to thank you for your graciousness of acknowledging one of us being chair of the State Association. Mr. Falcon serves on 911 board and on the Work Compensation Board, but he's not chairman of the State Association. And I represent South Dakota on the National Board of Commissioners, and I think where you might have got the chairmanship mixed up is I've chaired the National Ag Committee on Ag and Rural Affairs. But anyway, thanks for the compliment. No, that's all right. Just a point of clarification for everyone here. Any other questions for Mr. Tetzlaff? Well, ladies and gentlemen here present, I'm not going to allow the pumpkin pull to go on forever, but Kevin, I would allow them the opportunity to rebut if they have questions of anything that you've said, just for points of clarification. But we're gonna have civil dialogue. We're not. If you want to go out in the hall and have it out, I'll gladly deal with the winner. But so it's going to be civil dialogue, but I'm going to give them the opportunity to correct or ask any questions of you so that we have clarification. Okay?
Correct, yep, and I would agree, Chairman, I appreciate the approach, and that would be only appropriate to have rebuttal back and forth. Again, I would hope that we don't ask you to be judge and jury of who's right and wrong, I guess, at the end of the day, but I will answer any questions.
I just remind you all, Rotary meets at noon.
Thank you.
Okay, did you gentlemen have any comments that you'd like to make? I got two hands up, but the guy with the fancy suit stood up first, so you sit down and I'll listen to you.
I don't really want to rebut anything other than just one other point, is that there are $21.8 million in benefits that are coming back to the state because there are credit unions here. Even though you're a member or not, that's an average of $120 savings for South Dakota people who are using the financial institutions. We help keep the competition down, we help the fees remain competitive, and that's probably why we're here today to talk about it. That's all I have to add. But again, there is going to be winners and losers today, and if you pass a resolution, the losers will be credit union members, 250,000 of them in South Dakota.
Your turn.
All right, thank you. The low-income part, the mission that we're serving is being questioned, and that's very hard for us to understand. In 1996, Dakota Land became a low-income credit union. We applied to our regulator, and we had to give all the zip codes, and they run it through a deal, and we found out at that time that nearly 90% of the members that we served were low income. And they base that on the census, and it's changes every 10 years when the census changes. And then they changed the formula a while back, and now they go on census tracts. But we still serve the same members that we've served all along. In fact, constantly over the 30 years that I've been in the credit union, we have referrals from the banks normally, referring low-income people or people that don't quite qualify for their program. They send them down to us, and we serve them every day. We have lots and lots of low-income people, and that's what we build our mission on. You don't see too many doctors or attorneys or wealthy business owners coming to a credit union. Credit union is for low income, for the working class. That's what we do. And I think really that this whole thing does boil down, by signing the resolution, that's signing the intentions of having credit unions taxed, or at least looking at being taxed, they say. But it's really a grassroots support in favor of taxing credit union. I think it's picking one entity over the other. Again, we respectfully ask that you do not approve this resolution.
Kevin, did you want to take a swing at things here?
No swings.
Okay.
Two quick comments.
Sure,
And I think
sure, go
you've
ahead.
got important business to carry on. One, I am glad it was referenced that, they were designated as I forget the exact name, but a low to moderate income credit union. My understanding, and again, I don't know all the facts, but my understanding is that's a geographical distribution of who your membership base are in that community. Well, if a bank is in that same community serving the same geographical map, we could then be considered the same if we're saving the same customers that are walking in and out of our door. So again, my understanding is that's a geographical distribution of what your trade territory is and who lives in that area, as opposed to who specifically is walking through your door, is how that designation is risen. And secondly, in regards to continuing to serve the same people that they've always served, and again, focusing on the low to moderate income, and I'm cautious in making this comment, but at the same time, I think it's relevant to, again, if we're going to start a grassroots advocacy, we need to make sure everybody understands the issue. If you've had the opportunity to be out in Washington, D.C., and many of the federal buildings that we have out in Washington, again, our buildings as constituents of the United States government, you would have noted that in almost every federal building, there's a credit union. Not a bank, but a credit union. And I would challenge anybody to show me those folks walking through those doors, other than maybe the lowly paid interns that are out there and/or the janitors that are cleaning the buildings. Who's utilizing those services? I'm not sure it's necessarily the low to moderate income individuals. Again, just trying to shine some bright light on really who their customer base is, if that's going to be the premise of their discussion. So, thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions? I think, Kevin, I'd ask you, and I'd ask the folks from representing the credit unions, is this topic is probably going to be a part of the discussion of a national tax reform package. Do you agree with that thought?
I would agree with that. And that's the whole premise here, is obviously with the federal deficits that we have in Washington, we can't continue to go on as status quo in a number of different areas, which makes a lot of hard discussions like this in other areas needed as well. So there's going to be hopefully tax reform, which I think everybody realizes is going to have to happen. The contention of the bankers is that before those that pay taxes today are asked to pay more, or services are cut to those that are receiving them, should we not take a review of those that aren't paying any? But I would agree.
Okay.
Tax reform at the federal level is something that has some bipartisan support in the Senate Finance Committee, and in reality, that's why South Dakota is really also trying to spearhead this, is because our own Senator John Thune is a member of that Senate Finance Committee. And we've met with him, and again, he acknowledges that tax reform is needed if we're going to resolve our fiscal issues.
Okay. And I'd ask the same question to the folks representing the credit unions. Do you folks think this is going to be a part of the tax reform discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, having just got back from Washington last week, yes, tax reform is going to be discussed. There probably won't be any markup this year. In fact, we were assured from Senator Johnson, Senator Thune, Senator Heidkamp from North Dakota, who is also on the Senate Banking Committee, that there wouldn't be any tax reform by the end of the year, and that would probably be the Congress's ambition to get something going early next year, probably by April.
Yeah, and this will be a part of that discussion.
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
obviously is going to be tax reform.
Okay.
There's a need for that.
Thank you. Fellow commissioners, any further questions of either of our presenters? It's difficult because we were just handed a different version of a different topic here, but at this point, if there's no questions or further comments from either side of the issue in the audience, we're going to pull the discussion to the table then. And we have before us, fellow commissioners, an action to approve, or an action on resolution number 1371 as published in our agenda and in our packet in its entirety, which is the resolution support of repealing tax exemptions for farm credit systems and federally chartered credit unions.
I would entertain a motion for discussion purposes.
Second for discussion.
Okay, motion to approve for discussion purposes by Commissioner Falcon and a second by Commissioner Krogman. Chair opens the floor or the table to discussion. Commissioner Wyseth.
Clarification, I appreciate Kevin bringing this, but this resolution we're voting on, it had to be amended, or it had to wait till the next meeting, because this is not the action item that was listed? Yes.
My other comment is that you were given 2 sample resolutions to consider. One was a longer format and one was a shorter format in your packet, so I think you need to speak to which resolution you're acting on, and you can always amend the resolution to insert the new text.
Did you want the long one or the short one?
Well, I guess I can start the discussion and.
But we got the two. We got the long
Well,
version,
I
short
think,
version.
I think what I made the motion for discussion is the resolution that's before us without any changes, which really is dealing with the repeal of the tax exemption.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need to start with that discussion.
There's two of them.
Right, but they both say the same thing.
Right, one just
They
had
both say
more.
the same thing.
Okay.
I mean,
You
the,
don't
the,
want to
the,
pick one, Dennis.
Yeah.
Uh,
the intent is they both are for the same purpose. One is more lengthy and one is just short and condensed.
Go with the short one, it's cheaper to publish.
The short one's fine. The short one's fine, I think that,
Fine with me.
is everybody, yeah, that's one I'll just reference in.
Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
I guess in discussion, you know, hearing both sides, and I certainly understand it's a business that's doing the same type of business per se, with one feels unfair advantage to the other. And since this information came out at our meeting 2 weeks ago when Kevin came in, I've only had one call, and that call was not negative toward either side. It's just the question to me from a constituent: why are you getting involved in this? What is your board, other than the fact that we realize that it has some financial impact, number we don't know about, to our bank franchise tax that the county receives that goes to the schools and so on like that. But I guess I understand the situation, and I think it needs to be fixed. I think it needs to be discussed, and maybe this will never be fixed. Maybe it'll be in Congress and back and forth and back and forth. But for me, and what I'm, you know, I guess I'm here to represent the constituents, is this something we should be involved in? Is this something that we should request of Congress to do for the impact to the citizens of Brookings County, which one side says you're losing money by not having the bank franchise fee, the other side is saying we're going to charge your constituents more. So is that a break even? I don't know. I don't know if that's, you know, not asked to be a judge and jury whether these numbers are right or not right. I guess I just have the concern of, is this a place that this board should be involved? I mean, I understand why we're being requested to be involved, but I don't know if this is the place, and that would be my comment.
And that's been kind of my spot from the beginning here. I'm, you know, both presentations, both facts, you know, very well done, and I've learned a lot today and over the last couple of weeks about both entities, and you need both. We need both. Certainly understand, you know, the need for nationwide tax reform. Personally, I feel Congress needs to address it sooner than later. Whether this is involved or not, that's not my decision. I'm with Dennis on that point, that I'm not sure we should be here doing that. I'm not a big fan of resolutions. You know, I just, since being here, you know, we had the Northwest Quadrant one that came up, and they said, yeah, there's tax dollars, you're losing tax dollars, you're gonna lose tax dollars. And, you know, and it wasn't up to us. It was another decision that needed to be made. But it was good dialogue. It was a very good discussion, which I think this was too. I think it is. I think the banks and federal credit unions are both going to get press out of this of the value they bring to both. But, you know, I don't think that I'm ready to put a resolution out there on it, for the pure fact of I'm not a big fan of resolutions and not sure we need to be the ones deciding this. It's a bigger thing, and I understand there's tax dollars, but I mean, there's tax dollars in every decision we have and every one that's made. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I didn't know when I got elected to the county commission I was going to have to dust off my money and banking textbook and look into this. And I'm in agreement with Ryan and Dennis that it's out of our scope. I'd like to get back to roads, bridges, county welfare, and the criminal justice system. And as far as Kevin's new proposal, if we table or set aside the current one that Dennis made, that doesn't mean his couldn't be brought up at another time. I'm a slow thinker, like to think things through. So I'm basically in agreement that that this is out of our scope. The other resolution, I'd like to think about that. I'm not a big fan of resolutions. I know our legislature is, they'll spend 39 of their 40 days out there arguing resolutions and one day on our state business, but, and we've taken a lot of time on this too. But this time, I don't support sending out any resolution.
Did you have further comment? Well, you know, the chair's primary duty is to facilitate the meeting and not make comment, but, you know, you sit here in a small community such as ours, and you look out at the room, and you got a lot of friends out there, and they're on both sides of the issue, and you try and do the right thing, I agree with what Ryan Krogman said a little bit ago. I learned a lot about the banking industry and the credit unions, and I think everybody in the room needs to know that I'm sure all of us commissioners on our own have been on the internet and doing different things, studying the banking industry, whether it be credit unions or banks and when they were established, and your presentation and the dates, and you know, I started reading your presentation 1849, yeah, because I'd done my research, and all of us have done that. So we know the history, and we know the value of all of these entities in our communities, and we see it every day. The different activities that all of you reinvest into our communities. So I don't argue that point with anyone. But if this is going to be debated on the national level, and it's a national issue, and I'm not sure that probably starting with one individual county is the correct place, but maybe the state association would have more clout if they had an opportunity to hear the same presentations. Commissioners all over the state don't have the opportunities that we sometimes do here in some of the larger counties. And so as chair, I'll yield to the wishes of my board and vote, but I guess I have a little trouble with the resolution that's before us on the table. We have a new thought presented, and we're all subject to review from time to time. I don't argue about reviews because reviews are good, and we as a county are subject to an annual audit. That's an annual review of every piece of business that we do each year. So I certainly don't oppose the thought of all of us being exposed to review from time to time to see that things are correct. I'm one of those that I believe in free enterprise, and I think economic justice is best won by free men through free enterprise. And yet, you know, I look for equality within the overall system, so that if Gibbs driving 65 and so am I, and we're both in the 55 zone, we pay the same fine. You know, those types of things. But these issues that we're dealing with here today are complex, and they're going to be finalized by a power much greater than us. And I really don't, I'm having trouble in my heart of hearts, and that's where my decisions are made, that I should get county government involved in this particular decision. But I'll defer now to my fellow commissioners for any further discussion or comments that they may have.
Well, I guess, you know, 2 weeks ago when Kevin presented his presentation, you know, I thought about that quite a bit the next few days of understanding an unfair playing field, understanding that concern. But I always, in my mind, I was thinking, where do we belong in this? I mean, I was looking at the fact of, okay, maybe we should because of the bank franchise tax we receive. Is that the reason I should be concerned about this? And I don't see this today as if I do not support this resolution, that I'm not agreeing with your situation and your situation. I don't think it's the fact that you presented first and you came in and changed my mind type situation. It's where I felt this belongs at this board level. Is this something this board should be involved in? And as Ryan said, you know, when you put a resolution together, it carries on with this board concurs and moves forward. I don't see this, if this doesn't go through or if we don't support this resolution today, that it's a victory for the credit unions and a defeat for the banks. even though that's what it may appear to be. It's like, you gave your presentation, you came in and rebutted, now we changed our mind. I from the beginning thought, I agree with you totally on everything you talked about and why it appears to be an unfair playing field. But is that enough for me to say this board or myself as a board member? Because I haven't heard from constituents to me saying, you need to really support this. You know, I had one call that said you shouldn't be involved. Why are you even getting involved in this? And that's the only call I had. So that's where I, only comments I have.
I'd like to ask our other board members, did you have a lot of constituent response?
I had two, and both were on the line of why are we involved in that kind of situation, so.
Tom?
Two, also same point that we're out of our field of expertise. And you mentioned, Donnie, a great deal of thought. Mr. Olson, I did pick up if you're appearing before the city council, they're more interested in sales tax than we are. We don't get any. So that might be a real good pitch with the money going back. And I did have one individual say, well, and I didn't hear you guys bring this up, but well, you kind of did, the dividend and how much money. Well, I have Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank Corp, and I pay tax on that dang thing too. I have shares of that. So everybody's, and they've already paid some taxes. So, but I thought more of my own personal business experience. I was in the restaurant business for a long time. And if a group of people wanted to have free meals for low and moderate income, and they got together and they cooked a meal for themselves and took care of themselves, and we're going along, I would care less. Great, I'm glad those people are getting together and having a meal and whatever. But if all of a sudden they think, God, this is fun, I think I'm going to start having people come in and pay $5 for a meal, because we can do this with volunteers, we can do this cheaper, and let's start opening this up to the community. As a guy that's paying all the taxes, all the license fees, all the loopholes you got to do to have a food and beverage license in the state or city, I wouldn't appreciate it. And so that's where, when credit unions started, and they were taking care of those people, and banks were probably ignoring them, and they gathered as ethnic groups, working groups, or whatever, but did they get outside their scope? But beside all that argument in my mind, it came back, I'm sitting up here as a county commissioner, and this is out of my scope. And as much as I'd like to send a message to, as a county, I just don't think as a representative of the entire county it'd be fair to do that. I make a motion to table this action item indefinitely.
Motion has been made to table indefinitely
Second.
by Wyseth, second by Krogman.
I guess just for a point of order, I mean, we're not voting the motion down or approving the motion, we're tabling it, which basically kills the motion anyway. It's not a vote against on the record.
All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Krogman.
Aye.
Falcon.
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you all. We appreciate you all being here today, and we invite you to come and join us on other days when we don't have such a controversial issue to deal with, but we enjoy having the public present with us at the meetings. That's what it's all about. All right, fellow commissioners, we're going to vote on the next action item. Was the one that was originally action on agreement number 1366, the road use agreement between Brookings County and South Dakota Novita Aurora LLC.
Well, first of all, Rick is very disappointed all these people aren't here for his.
Say, all you bankers, now we're going to talk about a $55 to $60 million investment in Brookings County, and we're putting together a road agreement with the investors to build another processing plant, and you all leave us.
A motion for that?
Did the-
Yeah.
Rick, I am going to take about a 2-minute recess for the benefit of one of our commissioners.
Sounds good.
Who's getting up? First.
I just like to tell the truth. Yeah.
Well, everybody's holding back.
Perry, you're doing pretty good. You're hanging in there. You don't need a break. Huh? No. Ryan, them young kids. Oh.
Second bottle. Morning, Perry. How are you guys doing over there? You can't say that wasn't interesting. Come on.
I don't know if this is official or not, I'm trying to reset for you. Thanks,
Sorry we couldn't help you out.
No, you just hold on. We didn't hit the home run, but we got a base. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is to create some awareness. And, you know, this meeting this morning was an initial scope.
Yeah.
From both the credit unions and the banking side, you know, they're starting to hit the airway.
Yeah.
Well, that's because of this meeting.
I was wondering.
I see the trail of emails that I got a hold of, and, you know, they were on the national.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm driving to the Optimist Club today because we have the youth and government, you know, stuff, and all of a sudden I hear an ad at 6:50 of federal banks are trying to, you know, and I was like,
Hear
oh.
the end, but again, big banks, and, you know, people that talk to me about, like, get the scanner fixed, or those big, community banks, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't really targeted.
Yeah. No, I was very surprised, I guess. Yeah. See, I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear them saying, well, you're going to lose credit unions, they're going to close down. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that. Don't give me that stuff, because that's a business decision, not how you run your business. If you close down, it's not because of a resolution that we made. I'm like, okay, now you're going to tick me off here if you start saying that stuff.
Okay, then. Okay, what's our, Robert Rules of Order here? We bring it up for action,
second, and we're gonna talk about this.
Yeah, because it's an action item.
And then we'll.
But I told Tom, I said, this is so easy to do. Just get those things, throw $50,000 and then get it through. That's all we need for a road agreement.
No, I don't think so. I think you gotta talk about who's maintaining the county's responsibilities. If, I think that stuff too, where if they turn around and they bring a big old truck in there and they make damages, that crumbles the front of it.
They'd be just like anybody else.
Not
What do you do,
necessarily.
what do you do with the guy out of Missouri that comes and turns on the road and crumbles the road?
Right, but we don't have, if they could turn around and say, you know what, that's not in our road agreement. But the guy in Missouri, we could turn around and go after, but these guys, we go after them and say, oh, it's not in our road agreement, it's not in our road agreement.
We don't have a road agreement with the guy from Missouri.
Right, but we have a chance, but that's what I'm saying is they can use that as a thing saying, since it's not in here, the way they get it, because you have a separate, not just like, you have a separate agreement.
They would be overweight if they crossed the road.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, is we don't have that stuff in there. They can use the agreement against us by saying, we should have put it in here. And we got a separate agreement.
All we're gonna do is $50,000 in the bank, and when we can have a road meeting, is $50,000 that the county commissioner parts of construction of the road. Very nice. For what?
I got a lot of notes. If you want to-
Well, I just think that what I don't want to have happen is if miss something in the agreement that they feel since it wasn't in the agreement, even though they do this for everybody, it's a separate agreement for them. It's not like the other one. We changed our agreement. We did something different. So it's not in there. And they insinuate ours weren't right. That's part of the attorney looking at it going, well, it wasn't in there.
See, this is what we've done with them on the.
Okay, you bet.
See you, Kevin.
I'll just pay $100 for the attorney. That was our road agreement.
Okay.
Check. I like that.
So you guys,
Okay, well.
you guys missed a lot of exciting stuff when you left, Chad. I didn't get out there until 3:30.
When?
3.
Okay, let's come back to order, please, and we're going to start, today we have an action item before us. This is action on agreement 13-66, which is a road use agreement with Navita LLC.
Did we move?
Did I miss something?
Oh, we switched. A's down. Good. Yeah.
Don't get me confused, I already am. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Okay, thank you. I had the opportunity to review the, what I think is Brookings County's first road use agreement. Deputy State Attorney Abigail Howard sent that to us, to Novita and our attention last Wednesday, I believe. And we had a number, while the agreement itself is you know, a good document to start with, we had a number of points that we wanted to discuss with Abigail, and I had the opportunity to do that with her on Friday afternoon. Because, you know, every time you read a legal agreement, you know, we might read it one way, but the intent of it, you know, of the paragraph, you know, was something else. But we were able to make what I think was really good progress on Friday afternoon, just discussing each one of our red lines that we had submitted to her. And really just because of the time frame and the fact that negotiating that agreement with Brookings County in an open forum really puts Novita in kind of an awkward and bad position. And I think that we can get a lot more done if we have really, I think, one subcommittee meeting, if we had 2 commissioners and hopefully Mr. Burke and Mr. Hill present, because I think that the county would, you know, at times defers to them for, you know, how does this work with the roads or how does this work with the conditional use permit. We could go through that document and get it taken care of so that hopefully at the next commission meeting, you all would have a document that we're comfortable with and that likely the commission would be comfortable with and that you could vote on, and we could sign it and put this to rest.
Discussion? Questions?
Do we even have a motion on the floor, or are we gonna, no?
We
just
don't
do
at
it?
this time.
Okay.
But
Well, that's
did you have
fine.
questions, any questions for Rick?
No.
Okay. If you want, we will bring it onto the table, and we'll have a motion we can discuss.
I make a motion, we table it until next committee meeting.
Okay, according to the open records presentation that we saw at the 8-county meeting, we'll have to do it 2 meetings from now so that you can have 1 meeting to report back the findings of the committee and then the next meeting to actually act on it. So that would be December 31st. This would be 2 meetings.
You know, just since we visited just minutes ago, I was thinking, you know, was he referring to, we had a discussion at the end of the meeting, hey, let's get a couple of commissioners together and have this. Is that the type of thing? But what if you make them a legal, you know, act and prove it? I mean, we have an action item, we put it on the floor, we second it, we discuss it, we decide to table it 1 week, until the next meeting. Wouldn't that take precedent over, and the reason it's tabled, it just seems like we're so unclear in those, but if Rick doesn't have a problem waiting the 31st, then we can be safe.
Well, the 31st could be a problem, just kind of for everybody, because it's the 31st. And I don't know, I guess, those,
Aren't we supposed to have a commitment that you were supposed to have, be able to make sure you had the funding by a certain amount of time here? And
well, it's our goal to have funding complete by the end of December, but, those items could trickle out till the middle of January or so. You know how that goes with investor documents, especially since we're dealing with this over the holidays as well. But our intent would be to, our goal is to have it done as soon as possible. We want to break ground in the spring. That's our goal.
I think in this particular case, Abby, if you can help us, but I think because it's listed as an action item on the agenda, we have to put that on, you can't amend it until you have that motion on the table. Then you can amend it or do something with it, right? The action is, and the public notice has been given that there is a road use agreement between Brookings County, so you put that on the agenda, and you get a second, and then you have discussion. If you decide then to table that till the next meeting, until you can have a committee get together and review it, and it could be discussed at the next meeting. It isn't like you're changing what the intent of the action is.
Exactly.
You're
Can
just clarifying.
We didn't get 2 weeks for this.
Would the commission be comfortable in publishing the proposed amended agreement with whatever the subcommittee comes up with in the packet?
Well, I think you
But
would.
it's not approved, though.
No, in the packet, so that any of the public who are interested in the agenda item would be able to see what the proposed
Yeah.
amendments are prior to the action next.
That's what we did for this meeting.
Well, yeah, all we did was publish the proposed
Right.
agenda, or the proposed
And we didn't wait 2
agreement.
meetings we got to take action the next meeting from it.
Right, but all of your discussions about the agreement have been in a public meeting. That's
And that's what I'm saying. We
the
could-
question that Tom asked yesterday.
I think the question, if we put a subcommittee together to discuss something that wasn't on, say today we said, let's put a subcommittee together and discuss something we haven't made an action item out of or whatever, then we'd have to have
Right.
2 meetings. You'd have to have your subcommittee meet, post your findings, and then put it on the agenda for the following year. But this is already being discussed. The public has the documents. All we're doing is, if there's concern of the board, they should get to the subcommittee and say, as far as I'm concerned, you make sure that you don't throw this out or keep this in there or whatever. Other than that, it's just fine tuning that agreement.
Can I make a suggestion that we, bring it up and second it, and then talk about tabling it to the next meeting? Now, in the meantime, we just had this rule thrown on us yesterday, and in the meantime, if Stephanie or Abigail could contact that board and commission and find out if we bring it up, table it, have a subcommittee, come back to the first meeting in December, would that be in violation? If it is, she contacts and says, oh, you're only going to give a report, and it'll have to be the 31st. Rick gets in a big panic. I'd be glad to meet for a $60 million project December 20th on just that item or something. But we go with a plan to bring it back the first meeting, but if we hear it's not right, to have the subcommittee and have this tabled item bring back, well, then we move it back.
Well,
How's that?
yeah,
I mean,
I think the fact that it is an agenda item, all we're doing is fine tuning it. We present it in the packet, the public gets to see it, the commissioners get to see it. You know, any changes you make to any agreement are at action time. So if there's a little tweak in there that one of the commissioners has that he wants to make us agenda, I don't think there should be anything left by the time we've discussed this thing back and forth. So I would just as soon, have the motion, table it until we can put a committee together to fine tune. So it's an agreement by,
okay, I make a motion to,
Oh, actually, you made a motion to table.
I did. Let me ask one question.
but that's out of order, I think, because we didn't have anything to table yet.
Yeah, we gotta have a motion on the table so we can table it.
that's what you're doing.
Or motion on it.
That's why I was making a
Okay.
motion, but
I'll second.
have a second and then.
Wyseth move, Falcon second, Krogman moves to table. Perry, what we're doing is we're wasting about 20 minutes trying to do everything parliamentary correct.
Make a motion to table, you guys don't have to
But-
have an action on the floor.
You got a whole news story here. Commission spends 20 minutes on trying to do it right.
On the motion to table, you have to specify a date, so the next meeting is December 10th.
The time certain is December 10?
Yep.
Okay, the time certain is December 10. Was there a second to his motion to table?
Oh, I'll second that.
Okay. You understand what we're doing?
We okay, Stacy?
Yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with that original one. We'll figure it out.
The original motion is to approve the resolution, the road agreement, which was seconded. Then the second motion was to table to December 10.
Can I ask again, though, because the recommendations are gonna be coming out of not all 5 board members, it's gonna come from 2 board members and staff. Is it okay with the board if I, in the online packet, publish the amended agreement? I'll show the original one and then whatever the proposed amendments are? I just don't want anyone getting, okay.
I don't have an issue with it, and as Commissioner Weiss has said, if it be deemed necessary to accommodate the financial issues and everything, that, we can have a special meeting and run in here and,
That was if we got a
Yeah.
red flag
Right.
on our.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you guys were okay with having both of those on there.
So you're gonna take what we have today in front of us and then
Because-
put inserts and any changes and when you
No,
send it
because
back out?
technically what you're tabling is the agreement that was published in the packet, which does not have any edits. And so what I'll do on the next packet is I'll show the original tabled agreement, and then I'll show one that's an
That's what I was just saying.
proposed amended agreement.
If there's
And I'll
change-
label them that way so you can tell the difference between
We
the
will,
two.
we will act on the original resolution as amended.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Identifying these 2 poor souls.
No more discussion. Please call the roll.
Falcon.
Aye.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Can we, as chair, you're gonna have to pick 2 members and we should set up a meeting like now.
That
So
would be
where's
great. I've
Rob
got
before
calendars
anybody-
with me, so I'd like to do that as well.
Who was serving before?
I think Denny and Commissioner Falcon and Commissioner Wyseth.
Should I be doing that in the absence of the chair?
Yeah, almost, I think you have to.
Okay. I guess we've got, you want to be honest? Is that what, are you saying yes? Okay, I guess we're going to stay with the 2 original ones.
Okay.
What's your guys' calendars here so we can set?
Yeah.
This could take another 20 minutes.
Well, no, hopefully not.
Oh,
Next week's out for everybody on my side. I don't know if tomorrow, anytime, really tomorrow afternoon or all day Thursday and most of Friday would work.
We have a,
Oh, sorry, that
Yeah, that was you.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday's good for me. Bob? Dick?
I have to be at, he's at the Mitchell Thursday, but Wednesday and Thursday, but other than that, I'm wrong.
I think it's done at noon on Thursday,
See what?
it gets done at noon on Thursday.
I have work comp stuff starting at 4 o'clock.
Anything interesting comes up, Perry, I'll put together a story for you.
What about Friday? I'm clear on Friday.
Friday afternoon?
I have an appointment I'd have to have changed. What about Friday morning?
I have a meeting in here, a work comp meeting.
What's
Works
that?
with me.
I have a work comp meeting here Friday morning.
Oh,
What time is your appointment, Tom? What time can you meet Friday?
about 2 o'clock, but, I mean, I can look.
You're in town?
Yes.
Could we do 1 o'clock and be done by 2?
I might give a little bit more time than that,
Yeah.
just for discussion.
Well, I'll make a call.
Noon
If it
to-
doesn't work out, I'll try to move it to the morning, and so let's do 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, Robert, Dick?
Yeah, all day Friday is good.
And then I'll see if I can move it back.
Okay.
Okay.
Where do you want to meet at?
Oh, one of these rooms around here is,
We can use one of our conference rooms on the second floor, if you want. Like 215, that front conference room.
Well, just if, is there an alternate just in case Tom can't move his meeting? I mean, then another commissioner could certainly sit in there.
I'll get through this right while we're sitting here. I can text the appointment.
Okay. Okay? Everybody happy? Okay?
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
I think we're
Thank you.
close. I know
Thank
this
you
has
for
been
the
a-
patience.
A long process for everybody, but I think we're about ready to have it done.
Okay, sounds great. Next item is item C, action on agreement 1367, which actually amends 1358, the local improvement commitment letter. Chair would entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Falcon, second by Krogman. Discussion?
C.
C.
I'm trying to pull it up, sorry. This is the local improvement.
9C.
Oh, did we skip liquor license?
Yeah,
No,
because
we
we
Yes,
down
they
to-
switched them.
switched A with
You rotated them. I thought you just shuffled them.
He switched it.
We've received this letter from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. I talked to them about the conflict that we're having with trying to get everything coordinated time-wise. What they've basically done is amended our original commitment letter so that we have 180 days from the time of the original award versus the 90 days, so we're not faced with that December 15th deadline anymore.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Wyseth?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Falcon?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number D is action on resolution 1370, adding a portion of 213th Street, and I think we've kind of got that horse lathered up. Is there any, Chair would entertain a motion?
So move.
Second.
Falcon / Krogman. Any discussion?
Just going to reiterate to you that this is obviously changing the jurisdiction of the road from Aurora Township over to Brookings County. There is no contingencies on this project moving forward. It's going to be, this process is happening regardless. Also just want to note, I think this is the first time we've done it this year, so for new board members, there's a process that we have to go through as well with the Department of Transportation, which you'll see on the bottom of the resolution, where they sign off and then it becomes official. So after this resolution's approved, then we would send in the necessary paperwork to Pier, and then once that's been approved, it would be, I guess, official.
Is this the only thing I have a problem with is I was hoping to stick them with magnesium chloride on that township. And we'd asked them if they'd be willing to do it, and we kind of got, yeah, but we don't have anything in writing for whatever that 400 and whatever it is over there. Yeah, that's the only problem I have with this agreement as it is. They gave a verbal, I thought, right, Stephanie?
Yeah, they did to me. But really, that's a separate issue from taking over jurisdiction of the road. It wouldn't be included in this resolution.
Well,
I don't think.
yeah,
the
but
DOT
when's the
Because it's
last
not a
time
road
we deal with
agreement.
them? Yeah, when's our next time to deal with them? This is our only time we're gonna be working anything out, and maybe it's unfair to ask them that. I do have a great deal of concern for those people on that.
I agree.
North, south.
You can move to amend the resolution if you'd like.
I don't know if you can, but the DOT is gonna require a pretty clean resolution. There's no strings attached to the whole process, right? I mean, they're gonna just say, they're not gonna say, we're gonna approve this as part of the system, but you got something hanging on here that says they gotta help. You know, I think that'd be a little cumbersome for it. I think we just have to trust them, and if they don't, I guess we will just have to bear that cost, but I think we need to take care of it.
I'll
That's I
support
agree.
you guys.
It's a worry whether this is the place, but it's the only last thing we're gonna be doing with Aurora. And, you know, that's, so that was
I
my
appreciate your comment, Tom, but I stand with Denny too. I think we trust him, and I think working with Mark Chern being the board over there would be all right. Any further comments? Please call the roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Falcon?
Right?
Wyseth?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number E.
Now you gotta go back to A. Oh, that's E now.
By the way, I've got 9 o'clock on that on Friday, so.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Item number E is action to approve the following liquor license renewal applications. And Vicki, I think we have one. Has any status on taxes been?
I just looked, the taxes have still not been paid. So they've paid the application fee, but they have not paid their property taxes. So you could approve all of them and then this one contingent on the taxes being paid. I won't send it to the Department of Revenue until we get the tax payment in.
That would be my motion.
Second. Now, when does the liquor license start?
January 1.
January 1.
I have to have them I have a deadline to get them to the Department of Revenue, which I want to say it's a couple weeks from now yet, but if the rest are approved, I would send them off, so
And
they can.
they will get a letter stating that you are approved contingent upon paying the excise.
I will do that.
If that is not done by the end of the 31st, you no more longer serving
Yeah,
license.
it has to be done before the 31st because the Department of Revenue has to approve it as well. So it has to go through us, and then it has to go to the Department of Revenue, and they do what they need to do. And so if that whole process isn't done and the license isn't back by the 31st, they won't have a liquor license
We have-
January 1.
Well, in that letter, we probably need to spell it out to them, if we can turn around and say.
They're aware that the property taxes are
Right,
paid.
and I understand, I'm not trying to coddle them stuff there either, but, if they get the letter saying, you're not gonna be able to serve alcohol if your license isn't from the state, so we need it by this date, so they can
Yep.
get it and we can get it back. That, because I don't want them to come back here going, we didn't know. We didn't know that we were gonna do that, we didn't know, and I'd like to see that letter stated strictly there that if you don't have it by this, you must stop, selling alcohol as of January 1st.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Can I be
Commissioner
clear on the
Lyson.
motion? The motion was to issue 5 licenses without any contingencies and 1 with a contingency but we're going to pass it. Is that the?
Yeah, I think Danny's
Pass
saying
lands would be
that,
held until the taxes are paid. Is that what the?
One is approved with the contingency that real estate taxes must be current.
And we have to publicly say which one that is. It's gonna be in the
Yeah, we do.
minutes. It's gonna be in the minutes. Correct?
Yeah, it's going to be in the minutes.
It's Dansland, right?
Yeah, it's Dansland.
Yeah, Dansland Campground has to pay their, okay.
I want to understand, Stacy, we will identify the one with the unpaid taxes in the minutes?
Yeah.
Because it's a matter of public record anyway, so,
Yeah.
okay.
It's right behind you, Don. So.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yes, I remember reading that. I just want
taxes.
how the
We
motion.
were wondering if everybody else could read.
Taxes
Yeah,
are a
I
matter
was
of
too.
public record anyway. Anybody could call in and ask if those taxes are paid, and we would tell them. I mean, it's a matter of.
hasn't turned in their application, is that changed now?
Yes,
that's
they
what
did
I-
turn in their application and the check for the fee for the liquor license, but the taxes haven't been paid.
Okay.
So
Call a roll.
that's me. Falcon. Wyseth.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye. I voted for Weiss.
Motion carries.
Item number F, action to approve agreement 1368, software license agreement between the county and Zerker. Moved by Weiss, second. Falcon, discussion.
Marty had to go attend the youth and government, so that's why he's not here right now for this. He had visited with you during budget. This will be paid for out of next year's budget that he has already approved, and I believe some of the funds come from the grant too. When I talked to him about the agreement, he said everything was within what the budget was for the software purchase.
Got anything to add? Okay.
I did note in my report too that Marty did have Ron participate in the software
Yep.
evaluations to make sure it'd work with our system too.
Quick question, these agreements, these terms and conditions and all that kind of stuff, do we have council look at all of these, or not? I mean, is that, I don't.
Abby, have you reviewed that contract at all?
I've reviewed it in preparation for today. I haven't discussed it in detail with Marty, so I have no idea what the negotiations were, or what the agreement was prior to this, but
Okay.
I've looked through this document. What I
Appears
read
to be
seems
legal.
fine.
And that's my question,
Oh,
as I
yeah.
didn't know the process, obviously, first year stuff here, but is that the process, that any agreement we have, that we send it to legal to make sure that?
It's always got, the process we've always had in the past is that as part of the packet process, the board's representative in the state's attorney's office, Abby now, or Mark previously, would review the document. I think maybe once or twice in the 10 years I've been here, he found maybe something that we couldn't commit to, like it bound us to future purchases or bound a future board, but
And so-
otherwise they just look at it for whether the board has the authority to sign the.
Okay, and so you'll speak up if something you don't see there, we don't have to ask you every time if you've seen it.
Yeah, if I ever see an error in any of our resolutions or agreements, I'll mention it.
Perfect. Saves a
Okay.
conversation.
And I should point out, the city has approved, or they've signed their side of the agreement as well.
And just kind of maybe a little history, because I can go back a ways with this whole thing. This is the records management software that is in need of upgrade for the city and the sheriff's office, and this is going to put them together in sharing technology, sharing. It's a cost savings to both agencies, even though it's expensive to have it installed, but it's, and I think they've done a real good job of negotiating this price, because it was a lot higher when they started out, and they had another company they were looking at, and went back and forth and back and forth. But this Zerker is a local company that I think has proven itself in the state, and again, as long as the legal part of the contract looks okay, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Hey, you got something else? Okay, please call the roll.
Wyseth.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Falcon.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number G is action to approve agreement 1369 between Teamsters Local Union 120 and Brookings County Highway Department.
So,
Second.
On this agreement.
Moved by Wyseth, second by Krogman. Discussion?
On this agreement, I will point out that on your desk this morning, I handed out a copy of Appendix 8. Oops, and I see I already have an error on that. That should say 2014, not 2013. I was updating the spreadsheets Friday and today. So the one that would go with this is obviously the one that starts with truck driver under wage grade 3, and that would be the Appendix A. Typically in the past, the union has always prepared the contract and the changes for me, and then I've just reviewed the changes to make sure that they're matching up to what we agreed to during negotiations. It was a little different this year because they have a different union representative filling in for the Sioux Falls office, which is currently not working. And so we had to convert this over from a PDF, and I did all the contract modifications. So I can really say that I can speak to that the only items that were changed were the things that we agreed to in the negotiations, because I actually did all the changes this year. The one thing that I would point out that is different than what we talked about during negotiations when we talked about the changing the vacation accrual, but not the maximum amount that we'll pay out. I had stated to you that the maximum payout was 240 hours. Our maximum payout was at 280 hours in the contract already. So we still didn't change that maximum payout. It still stayed at the 280 hours, but then the accrual went up to the 320 hours. So that would be the only difference from what was discussed during negotiations. It's not changing any financial obligation to the county, and that's what was already existing in the agreement. It's just that the union agreement was different than what the county policy was at the time. Otherwise, everything else is, as was, I guess, negotiated by the board with the Teamsters on both contracts.
Okay. Any further questions of Stephanie? And Stephanie, thank you for the clarifications and the additional information. No further questions? Please call the roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Falcon?
Aye.
Wyseth?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Action 13, Agreement 1370 is between the Teamsters Local Union 120 and our Sheriff's Department in Brookings County. Chair would entertain a motion. Moved by Krogman.
Second.
Second by Falcon.
And I would have just the same comments on this one. I prepared
Okay,
the document.
we'll put ditto in the minutes.
Ditto, yeah.
And any
I-
further questions?
One thing I did notice on here too is that I had prepared it with Stephanie's signature page, so I'll print off 2 new signature pages before we go so we can change it to have Dawn's on there.
Oh, all right. No further discussion, please call the roll.
Falcon?
Aye.
Wyseth?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We had a very extensive staff report in our packet. But item number 10 is Commission Assistant Report. Do you have anything to add to that, Stephanie?
No, the only other item that I had that came up, other than all the stuff that you already had on your desk this morning, we did receive a letter from Basin Electric, which Dick has talked about a couple different times throughout your meetings, about their follow-up on any damage done to the road up by Basin Electric, which the total cost amounted to like $100. We've now received a check, and that has been all finalized. So it was just a letter to notify us that that had been completed, that the work had been completed and the payment had been received. Other than what I reported earlier, I don't have anything else, I guess, to add.
Okay. Abby, did you have a question over time?
Well, how many we got signed up for tomorrow?
Oh, for tomorrow. I did put on your desk this morning a copy of your tour. Everyone had responded that they had planned on going,
Oh, okay.
except, I think Ryan was the only one that said you weren't going.
I was waiting to see, because I have ICAP meeting at 9:30 till noon, board DEDC from noon to 1:30, and then this at 1, so, I don't know, I gotta see.
Okay, we meet here at 1 o'clock tomorrow?
The schedule, the itinerary is on your desk. It's actually at the USDA office. It would be in the handouts.
Yep.
Oh.
They have a van lined up to take everyone around, and then they have the schedule of where they're taking you. I guess I should point this out, too. We received a request from SDSU for the board to participate in the annual performance evaluation of the SDSU Extension Agent 4-H Youth Representative for Brookings County. There's a sheet of paper there that just asks the questions. I will just forward this email to you so that you can respond directly to her. It looks like they want individual comments, not just a group of comments from everybody, so.
Are we going to be doing the department evaluations?
I have it scheduled for executive session at the end of the meeting. You know, with the length of your meeting, if you guys wanted to wait, you can, but we do need to get those complete.
Well, I guess
December.
my point, and I think at the same time.
Just do that as a group,
We should do this
too?
one and
Yeah.
respond as a group, because
Okay.
I think it should be a group commission response on that evaluation. So I guess that's what I'd recommend, we just do it at our next meeting.
And I would assume, since we're missing one of the board members, we would be scheduling that for the next board meeting.
you know,
Very good.
is that, this is a response to one of SDSU's employees, correct?
Yes.
Well, it's half-time our employee. I mean,
Then, so, is this a review?
performance review, sounds like it.
Performance
Yeah,
review.
I
Well, then
suppose,
my thought would be, wouldn't that go into executive session?
right, but my point of what I just said was, they asked for individual board comments. So if you want to respond individually with her, you can do that. But like Dennis suggested, if you'd rather do it when you guys do everybody else's performance review, I can certainly tabulate everyone's responses and send in one group response.
And that's fine, but I mean, I don't want, you know, if everybody else's performance reviews in executive session. I would
Right,
suggest this one.
I was never asking that we go through and talk about her performance right now in the meeting. I was just noting that you received it.
I'd heard next meeting or something, and I was like.
Well, it'll be an executive session. We do all the other performance evaluation. We'll just add this one
Okay,
to it.
December 10th. Okay, gotcha.
Because you
Okay.
need 5 board members here to do it.
Thank you. Abby?
I just wanted to comment briefly on Novita, since I didn't really have a opportunity to say much during that discussion. I just want the board to know I'm trying to make this as expeditious a process as possible, and I felt confident with the prior drafts, taking the board's comments from the previous meeting, and a significant portion of that was redlined by Novita. But in meeting with Rick, I do feel wholeheartedly that with one more meeting and some concise opinions from the parties involved, we can get that matter wrapped up and have a product that everybody is satisfied with. I guess aside from that, I believe Clyde got to speak with the youth and government class today, which he said he's done for a number of years, so he was looking forward to doing that. I spent the wee hours of last night working with one of Scott's deputies on a mental commitment, so we're always busy over in our office. And I had the opportunity to attend the Optimist Breakfast this morning, so thank you for allowing some of us from the departments to come to that. And then this evening, I will be presenting at a CASA, our court-appointed special advocate training, to some of their new volunteers to kind of explain to them their involvement in our abused and neglected child cases. And any questions, just let me know anytime.
Okay. Any questions, Abby? Thanks, Abby. We appreciate the relationship, the working relationship we have with your department. And please pass that along to Clyde. Commission reports, Commissioner, hey, I'll let Denny go first.
On the 7th, we had a joint powers board meeting, quarterly joint powers board meeting, which we haven't had for a while, and discussed some issue with the building. There's still some things that we're cleaning up and some contracts, and there's still some, what are they called, money being withheld for payment until things get cleared up, but things are moving along pretty good. We've still got, some issues with the moisture and the dryness in the building, and trying to work some of that stuff out, but between Stephanie and Jeff, they're keeping things moving there, so we didn't have anything really. And we're looking at, we talked about this, backup generator, but the one that the county has isn't big enough to do. We need to make sure we put something in that's gonna provide a service for us. On the 13th, I traveled to Sioux Falls and attended the Law Enforcement Standards and Training Commission, which I'm a member of. And it lasted half the day down there, and we had some hearings and things like that, so. And on the, yesterday I attended the 8-county meeting in Watertown, and it was probably the longest 8-county meeting I've ever attended. They had a lot of stuff. I think it's okay for counties to plan things to present at these, but sometimes it went long that by the time everybody, the last presenter was there was probably 10 people left because it just got to be long because they put too many things, I think, together. And our next meeting, the next one is in Brookings, so we'll have to try to put something together to, you do an hour, the commissioners are ready to go back and go on, so.
And I think, we talked a lot of legislative stuff. I think that next one in March that we
Yeah.
have, you could probably just fill it all up with legislative stuff.
Yeah, that got a little long. He took a lot of time, which was good information, but it's nobody was prepared for that long of meeting. If they say it's gonna be 1 to 4, then you kind of plan that. But anyway, but it was a good meeting and information came out, so. You don't need to put in the notes that I thought it was too long a meeting. Huh? Nobody from up there reads it. No, that's not what I meant.
So, in light of the fact that it was a rather lengthy meeting, I suppose you deferred to the local pub instead of put up electric fence?
No, I had to do plumbing work last night.
Oh, you did plumbing?
I didn't finish that stuff.
You got a license?
No.
Ryan?
All right. I'm not going to admit to do any plumbing, that's for sure. So, Thursday the 7th, I also had the joint Powers Board meeting at 8. And then I went through the ICS training with Bob on Wednesday the 13th, and so I haven't taken my test yet. Just letting it soak in first before I take it. But I'll get that taken care of, and we'll get that accomplished. And then the Ed County meeting yesterday. And then tomorrow, again, like I said, I have the ICAP meeting in the morning, BDC at noon, and then Thursday, hospital board at 6. So a lot of my meetings in 2 days.
Ryan, didn't you mention something about a charrette or something? I thought that, I put that down for tomorrow.
No, that's in December. Yep, I'll get it here for you. Visioning charrette, the BDC is hosting and putting together, we're hiring a person to facilitate a visioning charrette for the county. And they're inviting people, and Al Houghton is running that. And that is, let's see if I can find it.
December 19th or something.
No, hold on, I think it's earlier.
11 and 12?
Oh, it's the 9th. Yeah, it's the 9th. And it's an all-day deal. I think, I know I'm going to go. I think Commissioner Larson's going to go.
Commissioner Miller asked me.
Yeah.
So we got representation. I mean, I didn't know if I
Yeah.
need to put it on my calendar, but as long as you guys.
No, I think, yeah, I think talking with Al, 2 is probably what we need to have, so it's not,
Okay.
you know,
That's fine. I just didn't want to make sure.
well, it's not, then it's a quorum.
That doesn't matter as long as we've notified the public. Yeah, but it's not a public meeting.
Not a public meeting.
Huh?
It's not a public meeting.
Oh.
They don't want it to become a public meeting.
So you two are going. I won't put it on my calendar. Thank you.
I got you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
A little slow on the thing.
So, yeah, that's in the 9th, so. All right, I'm done.
Okay, the 6th, planning and zoning, was the shortest one I've experienced so far. Thank you, Bob and Megan. 7th, I went to Volga and gave my comments there on the comprehensive plan, and shot off a note to them, the staff, as far as I thought they ran a good meeting, made a couple small suggestions or whatever, and I guess time will come when we'll all talk about the comprehensive plan. 12th, Chairperson Miller and I met with the staff that affected by a pre-permitting process, and did they contact you about this afternoon? And I said, you guys are busy. We got youth and government, we got a thing in Elkton, but they were, Department of Ag was going to be in town, but I passed along our comments, and they appreciated that we took the time, and it wasn't exactly everything they wanted to hear, but it gave them a lot to think about, and they were going to meet with Lincoln County and move forward. 13th, emergency training, like Ryan, I've not taken the test. I feel better, I learn better if I wait a long time between bringing.
Let me know if they don't pass.
15th, growth partnership. I had a real good meeting out there. Unfortunately, nothing addressed. Oh, I do have, geez, I almost forgot. We talked a great deal about the next year's, we already had a planning session with the next year's budget. Is the commission interested in having Dwayne Chapel come and talk about their budget for next year? Do you want to see what they spend their money on and how they plan for next year? Are you curious at all? Because he'd be glad to come or ask any other questions of growth partnership. Other than, I think Dwayne sends his information at budget time, but he was wondering, they're now has their budget. Are you interested? He'd be glad to come. No? Everybody's satisfied customer? My commissioner report sufficient?
Good reports, or good complete reports from our liaison.
Okay?
That's you.
Yes, me. And a lot of times I can't talk about what they're working on.
I think anytime anybody that we financially support wants to come and present to us any information, I just hate to stick it right at budget, if we do it at budget time, then it gets like, well, you let this one present their budget. But if any time during the year that you feel that Dwayne should come down to us and talk about how things are going, and if he has updates and stuff beyond what you feel that you can give us, I think it's so appropriate, but I don't think we have to make it.
Okay.
I don't have an
He
issue
brought
with
it
it.
up. I hadn't thought of it. He brought it up. I said, well, yeah, I'll bring it up at the meeting. I almost forgot.
Actually, you know, there's somebody that we support financially, and so if
Well,
they're
that's
making an
why.
effort to share the financials with us, I applaud that. But I mean, you do a good job of reporting to us as well. And maybe I'm closer to it than some other board members might be, so.
Of course, 18th yesterday went up to the very short meeting that I had up at Watertown.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
you want to
missed-
put in the minutes, these guys skipped out early?
And I missed out by East Central Behavioral Health, normally, and this is my second one in a row that I had a conflict, with Chairperson Miller's absence. I attended another 20th Street meeting of a different group of characters with partners or whatever, with some other concepts for 20th Street. And I guess, unfortunately, I don't think they're quite ready to prime time, but if you want to ask them about it sometime, I'd be glad to tell you. But there's still a lot of effort to get something done on. And our main skin in the game would be from the bridge over to 34th. So, but, you know, they wanted Chairperson Miller there, of course she couldn't be there, so. That's it.
Can I have one thing here? Bringing up the session of Brookings here on Thursday, I have not been able to go to any one. I would like to go to one, but I have that hospital board meeting. So I didn't know if, you know, and you know, Commissioner Miller, you know, don't expect her to be here, obviously, from circumstances and stuff. She'd been there before and covered. I'll go to the hospital board meeting unless somebody would be willing to go to the hospital board meeting so I could come to the other one. And that's on Thursday at 6.
Oh, maybe we'll do a little trading to accommodate that for you.
Well, I just didn't know for sure if somebody's interested.
Right.
Because I can go at 6 o'clock. Bob, the meeting's at 7? Starts at 6. Okay, so both of them start at the same time. And so I would like to go to this one so I can be at one of the comprehensive plan, you know, discussion, because I'm not able to make any of the other ones.
I plan on going to Elkton tonight because I can't make Thursday nights.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it.
And if we can't make it, that's okay.
I went to
just
White.
thought-
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Elkton tonight.
Okay.
What do you think about that hospital? Speaking of hospital, in our packet, we had an application for the board? I thought we did that. I'm new
Yeah.
here.
that's
We
good.
did.
That came in late, I think, Stephanie. You
Yeah,
sent
good
that,
question.
you put that application in our packet.
I did. I gave you a staff report on it, that we received that after
Yeah.
we already appointed the last member to the hospital board. So it was received after the appointment was
Okay.
I
made.
guess I'm sorry, I didn't.
I didn't see the rest of the staff report, sorry.
Anyway, getting back to Thursday, the 21st,
Yes. Well,
I could go to the hospital board for you if you want to come to the land use.
yeah, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that.
Okay, you and I will talk and get time and
I'll
place.
get you the
set.
packet.
Okay.
I have it already. So, and I'll give Jason a call to let him know that he'll be coming in my place.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Chair, I guess this falls under discussion, and I don't want a detailed discussion, but this issue of the city's offer has not gone away, and we haven't really done anything about it, but there is a lot of activity out there. And I have taken upon myself to visit many, talk to some leaders and different people. I went on visit Sonia. I visited with some of the members of the Extension Board, and there's a lot of activity. And I will say that I get a headache trying to put all the, it's kind of like this thing, but instead of two groups, you got a lot of different groups. And just one thought to think about, that, you know, we're all pretty committed to 4-H. That maybe the county commission sponsor a 4-H summit for Brookings County, invite all the interested parties. We sit on the sidelines, we get somebody to moderate the meeting, and have, them come up, with what they want to look like 4-H in Brookings County. And if there's capital buildings involved too, they can discuss that. It's tough for them to decide where they move to when they're not in total agreement what they want to move to. And so just something to think about in the future, that maybe we'd be sponsors of that and just sit back and let them define a future 4-H in Brookings County as best you can. Just something for you to think about. Okay.
Okay. Ryan, were you done?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see, backing up, we had a government affairs meeting on the 7th and talked about Brookings Day in Pierre that's going to be coming up in January, and the fact that there's enough interest, they may be considering taking 2 buses because the Brookings leadership group goes out as a part of their study course. Later in the day, and I think Commissioner Falcon, you were there too, weren't you, to the RSVP lunch?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
And that's always interesting, and there's a lot of good dedicated volunteers there.
Remember?
Pardon?
What was the date of that?
Oh, I got to back up. 7th, was it not? Yeah, afternoon of the 7th.
Afternoon after
I left government affairs and done that. Oh, let me see. What else did we do? Then I did go to White to the land use meeting. I thought it was informative, albeit you don't get a large crowd of people, and when we broke down into the groups 1 and 2, Bob, those people, they were putting the little medallion with a knife and fork on it on the city of White that they wanted a place to eat, and they wanted this. I mean, doesn't have anything to do with using the land outside of the incorporated areas. So, but it was still informative and a good effort by staff. Then yesterday, of course, the Sioux Valley Commissioners Association, and it was interesting. We weren't there till 3:30, Dennis, but we did learn some things. And the one thing I will tell you that I had the opportunity to ride with, you talk about the left and the right. I didn't realize those guys were left. I mean, tree huggers. You and I'd like to squeeze a young gal here. They'll squeeze a tree, But they're firmly committed to tiling. I got them going on that.
Probably enough, my former conservation friend Don Larson.
I did create a lot of discussion. With that, those are the main things that I done. From the national standpoint, there's quite a bit going on at EPA in regards to water and ethanol and some of those things, and our teleconferences in the next week or so, I think, are going to address some of that stuff, and as I gather that information, I'll get it to you. So that would conclude my report. You have your public notices noted. And we do have an executive session. No need?
Yeah, we're not going to need that because Stephanie's not here, so we can't do performance
All right.
reviews.
That sounds wonderful. Does anyone else? Bob, would you look up and see if I have taken that test somewhere back in the early 1900s? The ICS? I suppose we're required to have it, are we not? Okay. Yeah, check. He's got yours?
Yeah, I'm sure you.
I think Denny and I took it at the same time. If there's nothing else, for the good of the order, I want to thank everybody, and I want to thank the staff for their committed work. I'll declare us adjourned.
Did we motion to adjourn?